All right. So, Aaron, how's everything?
I'm, well, we briefly talked about this, but
Yeah, we did.
I've been better, but I'm okay overall. How about yourself?
For those who, I've been good. I've been good. For those who don't know, Aaron also like learns and practices Muay Thai, if I'm
Yeah,
pronouncing it right. Yeah, and he just hurt
yeah.
himself a little bit, while doing that stuff. Don't we all? Like I joined the gym like a little over a month ago. I already hurt my knee, man. So I'm giving it a couple of
It's
days
quick,
rest.
isn't it?
Yeah, but the thing is,
Yeah,
like
it
I
just,
really, I think it's good that both of us are like keeping some kind of an activity because it really gets to you, doesn't it? Like it really gets to your body after a point. So
I
this year, like I
mean,
had like made a promise to myself that I'm gonna take care of my body a little bit more because
oh yeah,
it sucks, dude.
yeah. Yeah, you gotta stay active, stay moving and
That's good.
do
And
stuff.
you have
Just
been
it's
more active than I have throughout anyway. Like even in college, you were a lot more active than I ever was. I just used to walk quite a bit because
I've
my house wasn't really
always
close.
Yeah, I've always been that way though. Since I was a kid, I would do I wasn't a sports guy, but yeah, I did a lot of very heavy physical activity and
Right.
enjoyed it and
Uh,
don't want to stop.
But
Yeah.
anyway, so today, not too long ago, just like a few days ago, I had put out a video on my channel about whether it's worth it to have a music career in India or not. My basic answer was it's very much worth it. However, I did mention a few points as to who it's for, who it's not for, and certain disciplines that you got to keep in mind while you're trying to go for it. So today I thought, what if we talk about the differences, similarities between having a career in music in India and a career in music in the US or in Tokyo, since these are two places that you have lived in, right? You've grown up in the US. Tokyo is a place that you've been living for a little while now, right?
Yeah.
And just talk about your experience. You don't have to worry about like talking about what's possible because none of us have dived into everything, right? So whatever
Right.
has
Yeah.
been your thing. So over to you.
Oh, okay. Well, you'll have to guide me a little bit here just
Narrow it
because I
down a
haven't
bit
seen your
as well.
video yet as far as like the topics that you specifically
So
went over there that you want to
what
cover
I
and stuff.
started off
But
with was basically firstly talking about what areas I have pretty much had experience in, and then I just
uh,
mainly spoke about my experience about that. And then whatever little you know about other aspects, in the US, just feel free to mention.
yeah, gosh, it's funny because like I don't want to dive too deeply into because every single person is gonna have a
Of course.
different
Absolutely.
opinion about how they manage their money, right? Since we're just talking about career stuff, how
Yeah.
they define career,
Yeah.
right? Because there are plenty of musicians out there wild and make absolutely no money on their music by choice
Yeah.
and sometimes by not by choice rather, right? So like
That's a great point because somebody had even, I believe, commented on my video about how someone can very much be a great player even by being quote unquote a bedroom guitarist, or just like a bedroom musician,
yeah,
which is true. Like, I feel you will
yeah,
definitely miss out on a few things because the way a career pushes a musician is, of course, gonna be slightly different. But also, on the contrary, I feel that if you're having fun with it, why make it worse?
yeah.
You know what I mean? If
Well,
you're having fun, like that's really the main part of music, right? At the end of the
this
day,
is what has always attracted me so much to the education side of
right?
music. And I'm gonna, for anybody who has opinions about this out there, I don't really care what your
Feel free to
opinion on
comment
this
down below.
specific.
Keep it civilized.
Yeah,
But feel free to comment.
yeah.
Yeah.
But well, I've known people, and I didn't mean to come off strongly, like I don't care about your opinion, but like I have always cared about the musicians that I was playing with,
Mm.
feeling good about what we were playing, right? And I've always involved myself in learning music from an academic side,
Right.
and constructing my ideas. Um,
I can hear Tokyo Drift at the background.
yeah, I heard it too. Do I need to repeat
No, no,
anything?
no, no. It wasn't that loud. But I
I
just,
live on a big
it
main
just
road.
reminded me of
Yeah.
that movie, you know what I mean? So that's why
Oh
I
yeah,
just
yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to crack that joke. I know it's a bad joke, but just go on. Never mind.
But but yeah, so for me, like the way in which I have sort of had my own music career in both the United States and Japan has involved education.
Right,
Um, and because I was, and I still educate myself as well. Like I don't just sit around looking for students, not care about my own performance
right.
aspect and all this sort of stuff. Like y- I'm not gonna be the most brilliant performer of every single style of music out there, but I go to the bebop clubs and I have fun. Um, and I'm not particularly intimidated by these things. And I do solo classical shows. And it's just like an aspect of being ready for everything that you want to be or can be,
I will
and
just
like
pause you for a sec. At some point
yeah.
later on, whenever you can, I would like you to just talk a little bit more about the solo classical guitar aspect of it as well, right? Like in terms of your performance and in terms of your journey. Because I know it, but I think that can really help quite a few viewers who might be watching this.
Mm.
Good, go ahead.
And the view of what a career is, because when I say I mix the education and the performance of it, like it really is that. It's like there's always a certain amount of like general business stuff if you want to do
Right.
the wedding bands thing and you want to do the event type things, and then like how are you managed? Are you doing it yourself? Are you working with other people and you have a team? And like um I grew up very much in ignorance of how things really work business wise,
Hmm.
and am intimidated by the concepts of like running a business that works well and that sort of thing, and that's just kind of how I view um, my own you know career. It's very much been based on trying to find places where I can start something and just keep it going and make it bigger. um, whether that's my own name as a performance sort of thing, or educationally, and keeping people. And I like focusing on beginner education too. I should clarify. I know we already had a video about this, and like I don't particularly like taking. Let me clarify that. As my main like market that I tend to focus on and want to reach out to, like the demographics of people that I want to be teaching the most, I want to be teaching beginners the most. That's just a me thing. I totally
I also
take
think it's a
and have had
special
advanced
skill.
students. I've worked on Bergonzi stuff with students before and things like that. But like,
But I'll
I
stop you there
feel
for a sec. I feel teaching beginners is a very special skill that not everybody is good at. I'm definitely not the best at it, man.
and that's kind of what I've meant with this whole thing, where it's like my approach to this whole stuff is like super different, I think, in my view of
Right,
what a career really is. For me, it's just staying capable in the game, because
right.
life is there for everybody to mess things up. and and
Also, just a
I,
quick little plug for the
you
viewers.
know,
If you are a beginner and you want to take lessons, you know who to hit up. Okay, I'm gonna leave Aaron's contact details, his email in the description box below. Feel free to reach out, please. And consider subscribing to both our channels if these videos help. Go ahead, Aaron.
well, yeah, and yeah, click like, subscribe, drop a comment in if you like what we're saying, or if you don't. Again, civilized. Everybody, keep it civilized.
Yeah, let
Um,
us have positive conversations. No need to call names. Just
yeah,
put your
and
thoughts out there.
we can all be wrong, and everything for everybody who's watching this and has seen my social media, that everything I post there is horribly unpolished. Um, I would I would argue it's got its own like qualities to it, good qualities, but you know, as far as what people would be impressed by, it probably doesn't look that way. And I understand, and it's something I'm always working on, thinking about, considering, you know. Uh, but yeah, it's staying there, staying in it, appreciating the things that you do appreciate about it. And part of the reason I like to teach beginners is because it's less about that niche value that you get when you are an advanced player, when you have a style that you really like, that and you're expanding the entire genre with what you do. Um, because that's how it works, right? For every single person out there who likes um, Dream Theater and like Dragon Force and like uh, Pat Martino and every which way you want to go, these people are being creative and personal in the way that they do things, and that's no different from a very very advanced player with much less of a big name career. Um, and those people were influenced by other people you may not have heard of, and that's what's special about learning things and
Yeah.
why I've always thought it was
Like for
important. And
instance, Eric Clapton was one of Eddie Van Halen's greatest inspirations.
yeah,
Ted Green and Joe Pass are two of Tosin Abasi's greatest inspirations.
yeah. And you
It-
know how
yeah,
much Jimi Hendrix is mentioned in Miles Davis's
yeah,
autobiography?
yeah,
Like,
I have. Yeah.
yeah,
In fact,
like
I feel you can sort of hear the
big
similarities
names,
between
but
them in terms of in terms of the musical philosophy, in terms of the improvisational philosophy. You can hear certain similarities when you hear recordings of both of them. Maybe. I don't
yep,
know if I'm making sense.
absolutely.
It may not be something everybody may be able to
It
grasp,
is to me.
but you get the point, I think.
Yeah, from the moment that I heard those two had worked together, I was never surprised by it. I was like, nah, that totally makes sense. Like once you've listened to Miles's later stuff, especially.
Yeah,
Yeah. But so again, the crossing, going across to summarize everything, I personally love
teaching beginning.
trying to stay as active and interesting a performer as possible when it comes to guitar.
Right,
And that has a couple of different faces. It's got the solo guitar thing, and my philosophy's there, and it's got my ensemble playing, which is just it's very measured, right? It's I like my jazz combo stuff, and I like being ready for like pit orchestra work. Those are I love that stuff, um, and I kind of fell into those things because I noticed that they were good ways to make money in my hometown back in Virginia. Um, and um, I talked to Tim Miller about this actually near really at the end when I was taking lessons with him. Um, and he was extremely supportive of the idea of like being a part of a music scene somewhere, wherever that happened to be, like local music scene type stuff. And um, that's never really left me because I was always like, oh yeah, it can be the way that I make it. And then since I've been here in Japan, the things that I was focused on in the United States to make my living um, remain a very opportunistic way to do it here. People who have the most success with their music schools, people who have the most success as players, um, have strong communities that work well together and appreciate the variety that comes through.
right.
Sort of Tokyo is its own like revolving door, and yeah. So career wise, that's how I tend to think of it. Me personally, I've always wanted to, no matter how hard things can become, because I don't
Well,
play
yeah, like one
the
of the things I'd mentioned
social
in
side
my
of things all that well. And I've always been worried about certain predictability things that I kind of didn't have earlier on. It's always been a very cover the basic needs thing, and
Right.
it's COVID came around, and that just became so much less stable. And this is probably a reality for a lot of people working in other industries as well. Um, and I sought core sort of things that I valued about what music is to make myself relevant. So I still teach the music and I still play. The way I can make money on it is limited by outside factors a lot of times. And I'm not going to share details specifically about that. But that's how I think about um, music and making a career of it. There is just so much to be done,
Agreed.
and I think there's a place for everybody to try to do it. Recognizing that whatever you do decide to do, you cannot let things go as far as the quality for the sake of um, other things like uh, money, and then obviously you yourself and your health come first. But then, like, as soon as you've passed that, when you sit down and you're working on music, for people who want to make a career, um, okay, well, if you're going to teach music, do you care about the person in front of you learning more from the experience than yourself?
Right.
Like, do you care about that? What do you need to know to make that happen? When you get up on stage to perform, what kind of performance do you want to do? Where's the audience for that?
So you had mentioned the financial aspect of it, right? Like the stability thing, and that is one of the things I'd mentioned in my video as well. That for if somebody is considering doing this full time, the first thing they will have to understand is that the finances are not going to be stable, especially in the early years. Even later years, as in, like, you might make a name for yourself, like right now, touch wood, it's been well, but then it's not been this well. When I just started off, right, when I just came back to India, it wasn't this good.
Okay, yeah, so it depends on the project that you want to do as well, I feel like, because in the US, I had just started teaching at a place, and then I started thinking about doing more of that on my own. But then I had years in Boston where I wasn't regularly gigging with the contractors and stuff. But I knew them, thankfully, and was able to start on that very quickly, and it was growing really fast, which was great. And then I left. If I go back, it's going to start again. And when I was here, once I realized that I couldn't make my own business uh, reliably, I had to stop teaching music because of certain caps that were placed on people who weren't managing their things well, um, and had to go somewhere else educationally. That, yeah. So, like, it can depend on the project, I think, as well.
And where
You
you
know,
live, what works best, etc.
yeah, because basically restarted things a number of times. I felt like I started out when I was in Boston, and I feel like I was starting again when I went back to Virginia. I absolutely was restarting in Tokyo, and sometimes it's all the same stuff, but just new projects.
And
And if
you,
you start a new project, you're gonna start from the beginning, and
fair
seek
point.
the scalability, but you know.
Fair point. Talk more about the live music scene in the US. Like in India, in terms of live music, like I'm talking about purely from the perspective of an instrumentalist. Okay, I'm not talking about a singer, because I feel a singer's life is comparatively gonna be different compared to an instrumentalist, right? So for an instrumentalist in India, you are either gonna be seeing them teaching, doing master classes, playing for commercial bands, corporate bands, or like Bollywood artists, doing session work. Some very rare ones also end up building a solo career. Some instrumentalists can also maybe sing a little bit and then they start songwriting. There's jingle work, there's film music, In some rare cases, there's not rare cases actually. Ghostwriting is very much a thing in India, and it's around the world. There's a lot of ghostwriting going on anyway. These would and music production engineering. Like I know guitar players who are like session players, and they are producers at the same time. Then some of them can even teach both.
Yeah.
There are guitar players who teach both production and
Yeah.
guitar playing in the same thing, right? So what's the scene like in
And
the
that's
US?
kind of what I was like. Oh, like, yeah. Well, I just think, really quick, I think that's a really good point of like, because I obviously focus on the whole like education and performance because that's what I do. But as far as like seeking skills that make you like fundamentally employable,
Hmm.
right? If you're really, really good at production, you don't just have to sit around and like pretend like the one production thing that you do is it. Like, if you're really good at that, you're going to do a lot of different things that make for a
Agreed.
nice, you know, employability or freelance ability in that realm of production or sound engineering, whatever that looks like. And so in the US, as far as like that skill set applied to performance, maybe is what I can speak on because my whole thing in the US was the goal to be the most versatile player that I possibly could be. I just wanted to be so good at the guitar that I could put it into any genre and it would work for people. It would be a sound that they wanted, um, whether or not it was kind of already there. And like there were things that could be done with it, and
That's a great point you have put over there because even here, if you're a session player and you're able to play multiple styles of music or like at least have certain things down, like for instance, let's say you got really good flamenco technique, you are actually going to be preferred quite a bit. If the same person can play fingerstyle really well, can play flamenco well, can fake a little bit of jazz or like play some real jazz, can
yeah,
rock it out as well, can play a lot of old school blues, can riff it out, can play some metal, and can play the mandolin or like the ukulele, etc. You're gonna get
a
a lot
banjo
of
maybe.
session work, bro. Like, especially if you're quick at it. Like from what I have noticed, the best and the top session players in this country, right? First of all, I'm fairly sure they earn a lot of money, dude. They earn a lot of money. That's number one.
Yep.
Number two is what they end up playing, because you hear them playing in film music, right? You hear them playing in film music or in like popular music that's being released and that's being promoted in a popular sense.
Yeah, I lost you.
These session players, when you can hear they're playing in a lot of popular music that gets released, right? Like through films or through any kind of thing, maybe ad jingles, etc. And what you hear is every part that they're playing, right? It's just, I don't know what's the word for it. I'm just trying to think of a word without sounding offensive because I really do not mean anything that I'm trying to say in an offensive way, but it sounds palatable for majority of the people who are going to be listening to it. So for the masses, right? It's palatable
Yeah,
for the masses, right? As in, like,
yeah,
let's say some of it might sound very similar to a pop song that you've heard in the West, right? Or
yeah,
some of it might sound somewhat Egyptian like. And like since India is like a country filled with amazing Hindustani classical musicians, our music, right? A lot of Hindustani classical musicians are phenomenal, man. Like you can't even fathom the level of musicianship that they have attained in their lives.
yeah,
And if you can bring that sound into the studio, dude, like, eh, yeah, you got it. You got it. So if you're good with Indian classical, if you're good with jazz, if you're good with blues, all of that, you got it, man. You've made it in the studio world and probably in the
yeah,
session world as well in general.
yeah. And that's, I mean, that's, yeah, like, mm, you can't, I don't know, I haven't figured this out for myself at
Neither,
all, but like,
neither.
yeah, the concept of like you can be ready with what you know on your instrument, right? But like what really is going to be perfect for the situation is always a bit of a, you know,
See, it's also about network, I feel, as in like you might even have more knowledge and more repertoire than somebody else, but then that other person might know people that he's just built a really good relationship with. Like, for instance,
right. And
let's take a guy like Tim Pierce, the session player from LA. Right.
yeah.
The kind of relationships he's built in the studio in Los Angeles all these years. Do you really think you're gonna have the same level of network if you just move to Los Angeles right now? No. Same thing here. Same thing here in
And
Mumbai, or like same thing here in the south of India as well, right? So in India we have Bollywood, but we also have the South Indian film industry. I'm forgetting what they call it. If somebody wants to correct me, they can comment down below. But that's also a huge music industry, and it's said that the South Indian music industry is even bigger than the Bollywood industry. Now, there are, of course, other regional industries, and in every single one of these industries, session work is there. If there's film
mhm,
music, there's session work, right?
yep.
Like, I know I'm digressing from the teaching stuff, but I think the teaching stuff is really more of an individualistic thing as well. Like the same way I have my own teaching career and you have your own teaching career, and everybody ends up having their own teaching career unless they're teaching only at some music academy. Right? If you're
I think
doing private teaching,
performance
it's but the
per,
performance I think you're about to say that the performance is related to it to some extent, right?
related to
To the teaching
yeah.
as well. As in, like,
No, I wasn't gonna say the
no,
teaching. I was gonna say it's very individual. Like
it is. Yeah.
like the way you sound and the personal relationships that you have are gonna determine the ways in which you get opportunities to perform.
For sure.
Um,
For sure. Yeah.
whatever that looks like, session work, if you're in the academic stuff, master classes, if people really like, or if you're just extremely popular, you may find yourself in that situation as well.
For sure. For sure.
What kinds of venues you do, how often you do that, things like that. I think it's really up to the player as a person, because like I mean, this was I mean a big thing. I've heard this all my life. People in the guitarists and reading, right? We
Yeah.
even I think
We had a
talked
video
about
about that
this.
if anybody's interested.
Yeah,
We had made a podcast on guitarist hate sight reading. So,
for me, reading music is part of the performance. It's like it's something that I am capable of doing and doing well, and that opens the doors for certain kinds of performance opportunities. And at the same time, the amount of work that you're willing to do for certain projects
yeah.
makes a difference. Because I've totally had people who come up to me and were like, here's the audio files. A lot of people watching this are probably gonna like be like, well, yeah, how else would you do this? And like when I want players in my own groups to come and play for me, this is specifically like a band, my band leader mentality. My stuff is written and ready. I don't want people to spend time, like, I want to cut down their practice time as much as possible, right? Because I figure they're busy, even if they're, maybe they're busy practicing for other things, maybe they're busy practicing for their own stuff. Maybe they're just too busy to, like, sit down and slog through dense recordings that I give them and learning parts by ear, which does take more time,
Yeah.
I feel like, because you can learn things written written and with the sound recording, I think,
But
is
there's
the
also
best
the
way.
accuracy aspect
But
of it.
like,
Like sometimes you just get demo files that are just simply not as clear to hear. Just one thing I want to add before you continue.
right,
The reason why I was saying that
sure,
the teaching and the private teaching and the performance is related is because, for me at least, a lot of my teaching has essentially been a byproduct of either videos I've put out of me performing live or just videos of me making, just playing in my room or whatever, or just like me putting out tutorials or like these kind of videos on my YouTube or on my Instagram. Or plus, I work with different brands in terms of endorsement deals and in terms of just showcasing products with FGN guitars, hot tone
Sure.
pedals. I'm doing a little workshop next Friday as well for hot tone and sonic kick pedals, right? So through that,
Mm.
basically, like that also plays a part in like my teaching career as well, because obviously my teaching career is not only based on just my Google listing. That's just more
Right.
of like a, it's just more of like a legitimizing thing that, yo, I am a real entity. I'm not scamming anybody. My address is right there.
Mm.
Right? So
Proving that you're
it creates
worth.
a certain sense of, trust in people who are, coming up to, because if you search my name on Google, I rank number one over there. Right? My name will come. If you write Shubhraj Ghosh guitarist, my name will come up, right? My Google profile will come up, my Instagram, my Facebook, my YouTube, everything is gonna come up over there, including my music, right? So it's like a way of creating trust. So that's why I'm saying that the teaching and the private teaching and performance are usually interrelated with each other. They're sort of dependent on each other. And also there have been instances where, let's say, a student of mine has recommended me to a private client for whom I ended up playing three gigs in three different events, right?
Oh, sure. There's yeah.
So
Well,
it's related.
to that I say it's related in the same way that like I was kind of talking about earlier, how like especially using the performance to get like word out or create trust and develop that sort of rapport, the community that you want, joining in lessons and things. I tend to think of the two very connected in the sense that like branding and business
Yeah.
is. Because I already mentioned how like I tend to think of my dealings as an educator and as a performer basically as two separate things, but I really only meant that in like the business sense.
All right.
Um, I totally want my students coming to my shows, and I totally want them referring me to people who, may want me to perform. That's happened before. I've worked with performance-wise a lot of co-teachers in of similar students and things like that, both in Virginia and over here in Japan. Um, uh, like they're not nothing is totally separate. Music is still performance art. It's it's part of that. I feel like we cannot get away from that reality of just what it is and and how that is valuable to us and how it creates value. Um, yeah, there will always be that connection between the performance and the education, and it goes both ways because you can, in a more direct way, you can learn things from performing, you know, and you can
Use
teach
that
things
with.
about performing, and that's
I think that's an important point you brought up, because that I do that quite a bit. A lot of things that I've learned are things that I've learned on stage, like be it in a smaller stage or on a bigger stage, like from how annoying having in your monitors can be on a big stage to how deafening it can be to have the right symbol right in front of your freaking ears in a small
hmm
stage. You know what?
how
To
important it is
feedback
to.
issues on a hollow body guitar.
I was gonna say things like monitors and feedback, like how to manage this stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and dude, the thing is, even still managing those can be pretty hard. It's just that on any big stage I've played till date, we have always had phenomenal sound engineers. So even if I've had any issue, it's only been for like 10 minutes, not more than that. They have just come and fixed it. Maybe it was a change of a cable, maybe it was just a change of a receiver, maybe it was just like a little bit of EQing, something, whatever. They just know what to do, man.
Yeah,
They're too good with that, you know. Especially
I
on a bigger stage, like usually you have one mixer and like one sound engineer only for your in-ear monitoring, and then another sound engineer out there for the main
right.
case, right? And
Yep.
both of them are working together, but then the one on stage is catering to your on stage needs, the one off stage is catering to your off stage needs. right? They are just asking you to set yourself up on stage, and then they take care of what's going outside. And it's amazing.
Yep.
It's just insane how efficiently they work together, man.
And that's really how it needs to work too, because I've definitely been on like medium stage performances before where the engineers were not that savvy or didn't have access to what they needed to like do things
Dude,
right.
I've played
And
with
it's like, no,
mixers
you know,
that
it's just
didn't
gonna be
even
like
have
the
a.
live sound that's gonna. Sorry?
I've played with mixers that didn't even have a preamp in it. It's just like an input,
Oh,
input jack and a fader. There is no preamp in it.
oh God.
It's insane.
Yeah. Well, yeah, now that we're talking about like, you know, rough moments, I think the worst I ever dealt with was the sound guys were great, but this hall that I was playing in once, I was back in high school at the time. It like you'd play something and then half a second later the sound would get back to you
Oh yeah,
at
but that
like
happens when the acoustics are not really good, right? Especially on
yeah,
open, like bigger places, like ballrooms and all. That can happen quite a bit.
and it was like a theater, you know, and
Yeah.
like here the problem I had really had with it, it wasn't like a distant echo like sometimes it is and it's annoying, right? This was half to three-quarter volume coming back like the whole time and it's like
So it's like a
how am I
lady.
supposed to play with that? Who can hear this? Yeah,
That,
yeah, it was like everything had this delay on it that you couldn't get rid of. And it was like a muted delay too. It was like the sound quality had worsened somehow by the time it felt hollow and it was just horrible. Ugh.
oh man, yeah.
Anyways,
Really
yeah, so so back to
So,
the
like so far,
back
whatever
to the
you
performance
mentioned,
versus education.
like so far, whatever you mentioned, it seems like whether it's India, Japan, or USA, you're pretty much dealing with the same shit. The only things that's really
Well, I was
different
kind
is
of,
the economy and the currency, I guess.
you know,
Actually,
it's like
that does bring me
artists.
to one thing. That is, so let's take a field like music therapy, for instance, okay? Because I feel most other fields in music are very much there in India and US and Japan, right? Maybe apart from some
Yeah.
scientific applications of music, India, Japan, and USA, they all have the rest of it in common. What about music therapy? I am aware that in India, music therapy does exist. But as
Mm.
far as I'm aware, and again, anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, it does not exist in India the way it exists in the US because I believe the US is a lot more scientific about it. So,
It's, I should hope
whatever you
everywhere
know
is
about it.
scientific about it. It's therapy. You need to be
Yeah, I'll
licensed.
tell you why. Because like there was a point where I was interested in looking into music therapy, and we both have a common friend who actually does that, right? And what she told me is that it's a fairly wide field, and it requires a different kind of creativity. Like for instance, let's say somebody is having stammering issues, right? So the therapist might write a song that specifically targets that one word that this person is having issues with, and apparently that works. And similarly, depending on the kind of patient you have, like it could be patients who are suffering from stage 3 cancer, stage 4 cancer. It could be somebody else with maybe different psychological like requirements or any other thing. Like maybe it could be even like an ex-army official of some sort. It can be anything. Like the client can be a lot of things. And in every situation, your method is slightly different. Like because you have children's psychology and then you have psychology for old people as well, right? So there is a lot of psychology being used here. That's all I know. Right
Yep.
now, I don't know how right I am about it or how correct the information that I have is. What What do you think? Like whatever little bit you know about it. Did you even know it
Well,
existed
I
before?
don't know about music therapy. I'd heard of it, but not nearly to the level. Like
I
I'd never
I
met
never knew
anybody
about it.
who was interested in it or could do it.
Right?
Yeah,
I never knew about it.
until
Like,
Berkeley.
I had only heard about it when I saw it as a major at Berkeley. I had no idea that it even existed.
So one thing that I like about music therapy, despite not understanding it, um, is like at least in the United States and from my experience, it is therapy. It is a unique application. What did they say? They were like using music to achieve non-music goals. Something to that effect was very much the sort of a mantra, and like how that bears itself out in further research or application. I know absolutely nothing about. Um,
Let me ask
but
Gemini.
well, yeah, go for it. But um, one thing I did like about it, thinking about it, like, or that I do like about it, as
Hmm.
far as how it applies to like me, is when I think about educating students and music education, I'm often thinking about it from like what does, good educational practice look like no matter what, not just for music. And that's made me very thankfully employable in like multiple industries as far as education goes, training, curriculum development, um, and writing and that sort of stuff are things that I do now quite a lot. It's kind of fun. It's pretty cool. Um,
Oh, dude, I think you might find this interesting. So, according to Gemini, the most popular uses of music therapy are number one, mental health and mood disorders.
hmm.
So these are used extensively for depression and anxiety to provide emotional release and teach coping mechanisms. It is a popular adjunct to traditional psychotherapy, often helping patients who struggle with verbal expression. Okay. Next is dementia and Alzheimer's care. So, music is one of the most effective tools for stimulating memory and reducing agitation in older adults. Okay, so we're talking about, I'm guessing, beyond the 50 years age range, right?
It's a geriatrics, right? So yeah, yeah, seniors.
Because music is processed in areas of the brain separate from speech. It can bypass cognitive damage to help patients reconnect with loved ones. That's pretty cool, right? Next
Yeah.
is
Well,
autism spectrum disorder, ASD. Okay, so
yeah.
this is apparently highly popular for improving social interaction and communication skills in children. The rhythmic and predictable nature of music provides a safe environment for children with sensory sensitivities to engage. And then there are two more. There's neurological rehabilitation, which is known as neurologic music therapy, NMT for short. It's a major application for stroke and Parkinson's disease recovery. Rhythmic auditory stimulation, in short RAS, is used to retrain motor functions like walking speed and balance. And lastly,
So
Hasir,
go for it. No, no, no. I was gonna go on
the,
a
the
bit of a
last one is
tangent. So
pain
it's
management. So, frequently
ah.
applied in hospitals for post operative recovery, labor and delivery, and chronic pain management. It acts as non pharmacological distraction. Wow, what a dangerous word, dude. Pharmacological
Non-pharmacological. Yeah.
distraction. Yeah, distraction that can reduce the perceived intensity of pain and the need for medication. And the common settings where these things are like these practices are used are general hospitals and oncology units, schools and special education, nursing homes and senior centers, correctional facilities, and neonatal intensive care units. There are four core methods used, and one of them is improvisation. So, number one is
Yes. Yep.
receptive. Okay, that is listening to live or recorded music for relaxation, imagery, or lyric analysis. Number two is active or expressive. which involves making music through singing, drumming, or playing instruments. Number three is compositional, which is writing original songs or lyrics to process specific life events. And number four is improvisational, right? You can already see the smile on my face. I love the fact that improvised music is being used to
How could
spontaneously
it not be?
creating, yeah, spontaneously creating music to reflect current emotions or promote non-verbal dialogue. So
So,
that's what Gemini
like,
has given us. Thank you, Gemini.
I like mm, because the way in which I interact with music is really is extremely different from a music therapist.
For sure, of course.
But the purpose I think is very strongly shared. And what I mean by this is, right, and like, because I mentioned it earlier, just a minute ago before we read about that. When I'm educating or people in a lesson or a music class, or I'm writing a lesson or part of a curriculum for music students, I'm not thinking about necessarily, right, the things about music that I think are cool that students should learn. I'm thinking about how they're reaching goals that they will have set for themselves or that I can set for them as the teacher that will provide them like clear improvement, right? So things like all the Western classical harmony that I put into my um, lessons, it's there because I know that they're going to see their ability to do things that I put into lessons as something that um, is an improvement from where they were a month before or 2 weeks before, even, right? It's like every time they leave a lesson, they have something to practice and a way to practice it that gets them a little bit further, whether or not they see the direct connection to things that come later. So this is where you can get way more coming back to like the connection between that and music therapy, right? If I'm thinking about how to educate somebody in that way, so the benefits of learning music are so broad and so wide reaching because for the same reasons that people use it in therapy, and there's the whole position of music therapist. Um, like, I don't know, and this is where a music therapist would really be able to sort of step up if someone was here. If you are a music therapist, please comment how exactly this works, right? But like, I read educational psychology and child psychology to write curriculum and lessons and things for my students, and I like neuroscience and will read that too, but it's far above me. I would imagine that a music therapist is much more well versed in modern psychiatric, psychological, and neuroscientific literature because it's much closer to the actual structures and schemas and things that are created and developed and manipulated when we engage with music.
Right.
Um, but something that I'm more interested in as a music educator is everybody has this interaction with music, right? Professionals on stage or, in a pit orchestra or jamming out on gigs are engaging in that way with music. They're getting all the benefits and drawbacks, right? Whatever that might look like of engaging with music in just like it's a physical thing you do. And it impacts you in that way, along with absolutely everything else in life. There's, an impact on your brain from scrolling on your phone, from walking down the stairs, from playing the guitar. They all they do something to you and your experience in life, and they become a part of you. And so, yeah, as far as like the music therapy goes, it's much more related to exactly how it's impacting your brain and how that can be used for, um, achieving other goals. And My personal goal sort of is flipped, where it's like, no, I just want people to engage with the music because doing so still provides all the benefits.
That's a great point because I believe one of the points there
You
was
know what I mean?
basically teaching music as well, like through composition or through improvisation. So yeah, I
Right.
get what you mean. Now
And
another,
it doesn't look the same though. It's worth noting that like the way you would learn music like that in a therapy session is totally different from
but
like a music lesson. The music lesson is
it's
going to
not
be
like a
pushing.
Mick Goodrick class.
Right. Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
like
But
a Mick Goodrick
yeah. Man. Flip the metronome around one time. All right, take off your shoe.
But anyway, like I'm gonna digress a
But
little bit from this topic now, okay? And I'm gonna bring up another one. That is, I feel like one of the things I learned from that video that I put out, is that for a lot of people, the music career is almost limited to creativity related to only composing or creating your own music and releasing your own original music. Now, you and I both know, as musicians who've been to music school and also have delved in different aspects of music, that that's far from the truth. Creativity is pretty much involved everywhere, in every single
yeah.
field of music, you know, even if you're talking about a copyist.
Well,
Even
that's why I mentioned there at the beginning, like however you define career is going to be very personal no matter what.
right.
I would absolutely, like if somebody viewed it that way and looked at me, they would go, "Well, you don't have a music career." That would be what they said. And I would be like, hey, you're wrong. Because I've totally, like put bands together. I've done my own stuff. I've done covers. I've, and
We
like
all
made
have to
money
do
with these
that
things along the
eventually.
way. And I just happen to focus. Hmm?
Yeah,
What?
we all have to do that to some extent at least. And again, like we are both talking about this strictly from the perspective of an instrumentalist. We're not talking about like just a random songwriter or a random singer or anything like that. Just purely from the perspective of an instrumentalist who will have to dive into different aspects of the career to eventually reach a point where they can laser focus on maybe one
Yeah.
or two things that become their primary like income source. For me,
Yeah.
for both of us, it's performance and teaching. For somebody else, it can be jingle work. For someone else, it can be film scoring. For someone else, it can be music business, right? It could be a lot like management. It could be
And
music attorney,
I,
whatever.
I think what people, copyright law, fun, fun, fun. Sync licensing, but like I mean, I've known people in sync licensing who don't end up really liking it, uh, both writing and in the management side. And like, I've always known that I wouldn't, ever since I changed my major from music business to jazz comp and performance. Like, I've always kind of known that I wanted to be on the creating a product side of whatever it is I was doing. Um, I just don't. I don't know. The business mindset for me, like if I have to start thinking about that stuff, I start going to yeah, but anyway, that's totally beside the point. What I was
The
gonna say though,
business
and
mindset, for any self-employed musician, after a point comes naturally. Like I don't, what I end up doing is technically business, because I am self-employed, right? But at the
but
same
that's what I
time,
was gonna
that's
say.
not what I'm
Anybody
thinking,
who's
if that makes sense, right?
yeah,
It's more of
yeah,
like I'm just doing what I feel is right based on my experiences so far in my career, you know, like,
and yeah, and the way I think about it is like if you're gonna end up doing anything that you consider to be a career, remember that it is gonna from the outside, from somebody who's not just the fan of yours, but like if you're going to be writing a lot, it's clients. You're running a business, right? And if you're teaching and performing a lot, your students are your clients. Your audience is your audience is your client. Um, it's that's you you don't have to take that view, and I don't think people should in the moment, but on paper. that's how you make the money. You know, that's what the career is gonna be. Um,
Yep.
and if you're already thinking about like that purely, I don't know. I don't even, everyone has different views. I would recommend making sure that you're thinking about your own happiness in that, because if you force yourself to take on one perspective and it's not the one that you're actually happy with, you know what I mean? It doesn't really matter how much you do and become successful, you're just not going to be happy with it.
I
Hence
have a
the people
wild
who
theory.
left the production and sync licensing stuff that I know, like
I
they
have a
view
wild
themselves.
theory. You tell me if you resonate with this. I feel like for all of us, we need to keep a certain balance of things we like and things we don't particularly like, but then they are helpful in our personal or career development anyway,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like I don't want to be known for playing Hindi music, but I do play Hindi music at private events. Right? Because in private events in India, if you play Hindi songs, you are going to be preferred. You know, because a lot of the clients are essentially looking for that.
Yeah.
I'm not playing standards. Hardly any of the private gigs I play in India are jazz gigs. I do play them from time to time, but then I can't say that most of them are that. Maybe 20% of like the total number of gigs I'll get in a year would be jazz. You know, for some other people they
Yeah.
might not, but at least for me, 20%
I
is
think
that.
for me, like I think the whole being between the US and Japan thing has made me really lucky in the sense that the things that I do for myself are they're not the same, but they're much more, I think, closely related than maybe what you're up to. Because like I will go and play standards and then get known for it, and then just like drop my own tunes in somewhere else, and they're not that much different.
Yeah.
It's like genre and stylistically and that sort of thing. I can be pretty consistent, and like all those things.
I mean, even if you're talking about GB gigs in the US, like every single GB gig I've played, the set list has always been a mix of like a few standards, but
Oh, it's
mostly pop and classics, right? Like American pop and classics. Like for example, tunes like "Shut Up and Dance," or
uh,
"Treasure" by Bruno Mars. Then "Hello," "Hello, is it me you're looking
Adele. Yeah.
for?" No, no,
Oh,
no.
rolling in the
Actually, both the like the Adele "Hello" is also there in the set list because usually I have only played with one band multiple shows in the GB scene in the US, and they had basically sent me one whole repertoire, right? And this repertoire had a total of around 350 to 400 songs, and they were all just beautifully divided. Just like for cocktail parties, there's like a list of standards, right? Most of the cocktails that we have done, it's like you are booked for a whole day, right? The band leader books you for the whole day, and then you have the ceremony. For this ceremony, it's usually the piano player, the keyboard player going there and playing wedding songs, right? Tunes for the ceremony, right? Usually some kind of a classical piece like Canon and D, for instance. Then comes the cocktail session. The cocktail session is usually a 1 hour to 1.5 hour set. The I had played a couple of solo gigs for those, and then in other situations, maybe they'll bring in the pianist, bassist, and drummer together for a jazz gig, a jazz trio. And I think that really just depends on the client. And then there's a really long set at night, which is the main live set. And that can be pretty tiring, man. Like all the live sets I've played at night, like the main gig, that has been like a
Yep.
3.5 hour set with two breaks in between. So
Yep.
really, really long. But at the same time, it's
Yep.
super fun. And after that, after you're done with that, comes the DJ with a silent set. Every single one of those gigs I've played, these are like silent DJ gigs. So everybody's got a headphone. Nobody outside can hear the DJ.
Oh,
Nobody outside can
oh
hear the
man,
music, but
I've not
everybody is
seen one
just
of
drinking
those.
and
I've
dancing with headphones on. And it's
not
a little odd to look
actually.
at.
I've never actually seen one of these or been to one of
No,
these,
I
you
have
know.
I have only played GB gigs where that was the case. So like when we are
Oh
packing
wow.
up our stuff, by then the DJ has already started. And usually all of these DJs are really cool guys, man. Yeah, they're really chill guys.
What was I thinking about with
So,
I had
and in fact,
something in mind.
I wasn't even aware that that's a thing that you can have silent DJ nights as well. That was like my first exposure to it. That I'm like, wow, like that's convenient.
I had thought of it once or twice or something, and then the first time I saw mention of it in pop culture was actually on the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine. There was some like
Dude, that's a
underground
really
silent
funny show.
DJ thing, and everyone's got headphones in.
It's a really funny
But
show.
I didn't know about that, and I never played at a place where that ended up being a thing that someone did. So yeah,
It's
whatever.
a really
Shows you
cool
how
show.
much I was
And
really
this particular
on
gig
that
I'm
level.
talking about, this was in you know that island Martha's Vineyard?
Yes. Yeah.
It was on that island.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. That's kind
Very,
of
very nice island, man. Like
it's
very
really well known. It's quite popular.
it
Yeah.
is very well known. It's
I've never
also a
been.
very inconvenient island to be in because I think after 9 p.m. or something, you don't get Uber, none of that. You don't get a cab.
Oh.
There are no cabs or anything like that. So yeah, and you have to take a ferry from Martha's Vineyard to what Maine. What's that?
Okay. Yeah.
That
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So you basically have to take
Interesting.
that thing. So even if you're going by car, you basically have to take your car on that what do you call it? The launch, right? Is that what they call it? The ship kind of thing.
Yeah. We just call it a ferry, right?
A
Or
ferry,
no?
yeah, a ferry. I
Yeah.
was forgetting the word. So you have to get the car on the ferry, and then the ferry will take you to Maine. I forgot the exact area, or like exact city in Maine, because I believe is Maine like a state or is it a city?
Yeah.
Maine is
Maine
a
is a
state,
state.
right?
Well, I think of the state. I don't. Is there a Maine in Maine? Maine is the state
So
or
what are
Commonwealth.
the famous cities in Maine? You tell me, then I might remember.
I do not know off the top of my head. I never went to Maine. Um,
But
I would
basically, you get
recognize
the
some if
ferry
I
from there,
saw it.
you know, and that ferry takes you
Maine,
to.
USA. Oh, Portland. That's I've heard of this
Wait,
before. Oh, I've heard of Portsmouth. It must have been Portsmouth then, no?
which part
Oh,
of
wait, no, that's different.
Maine has a ferry
Wait,
to Martha's Vineyard?
wait, from Maine, the state? No, that wouldn't make
Oh
sense
no,
because
no,
it's
no,
in
no, no, no. It's
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. It's Massachusetts. So
Yeah,
mine was on. So there's Woods
probably.
Hole,
Uh,
there's Hyannis, Falmouth. I think New Bedford. This is where we are taking the ferry from. New Bedford, Massachusetts.
that sounds. Yeah, that's a well-known place. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Because is that close to it? Is New Bedford close to Boston?
Boston and New Bedford probably take 95 to Providence. Is it 295? Oh no, 195 to New Bedford. Or maybe it's 295 and then turns into one. No, it's 195. Okay. Anyways,
Yeah, and an hour to an hour 30 minutes. That sounds about right.
man, all that stuff being so close together.
Yeah. But anyway, like that was a beautiful freaking place, and that was like a fairly eye-opening thing for me as a performer. I know it's sort of off topic, but I think to end today's podcast, I have already spoken about what I would advise to anybody who's trying to take this up as a career in my video. What would you advise to people who would want to take this up, be it in the US, be it in Japan, or in India?
I think I've already said what I think is the most important thing. And I think it goes for
Let's put it this way. What are certain things you learned the hard way?
sure.
Like I learned
Um,
finances the hard way.
You learned what?
Finances the hard way.
Oh, yeah. Um, oh, I'm gonna have a big old silence here that has to get cut out. Wait, so what exactly is the question here? Is it something that I learned the hard way, or like what I would recommend to people
What you would
how to
recommend to
make
people
a
based
career?
what you would recommend to people based on things you've learned the hard way? Like let's say something related to performance, something related to teaching, something related to dealing with bad clients, something related to managing finance,
Yeah.
these kind of things.
I mean, there are tons of things, but I'm trying to think of something that would really genuinely sort of encompass it all. And I think it's gonna go back to what I said before, which is like don't ever be afraid to really interrogate whether or not what you're doing or trying to do is really in line with, your values, your expectations,
Yeah.
things that are important to you. Um, you know, the way in which I learned this personally is I find myself staying in Japan where this thing is going to be more difficult from the things and possibly even more success
Mm.
in a place where I think the values are a little bit off from
Yep.
what I expect, right?
Right.
Health insurance is a big thing that I mention all the time, livability of certain places, uh, but this comes down to me choosing a place where I find the values and the expectations to be a little bit more in line
Mm.
with what I want out of life.
Right.
Because you're gonna have to do that no matter what, Like, it doesn't matter what career you end up with and all of that. And, like, and yes, there are things that are, yeah, yeah, go places and don't ever be afraid to interrogate whether or not what you're doing to is in line with what you really want. Yeah, you know. Um,
I think on that note, let's just
yeah.
call it for today. Okay, so thank you everybody for watching. We really appreciate whatever little viewership we've gotten. And if you feel what you're watching is helpful, consider subscribing to both our channels, consider liking the video, consider sharing the video. If you want to comment, comment down below. If you have further questions about things, comment down below, If you have suggestions, comment down below. If you have questions, comment down below. That's what the comment section is for. Just keep things civilized, please. And lastly, if you want to take private lessons with either of us, our contact details are in the description box below. So please feel free to contact us, email us. You can WhatsApp me or call me. Aaron prefers email. I'm okay with email and calling. So yeah, thank you again, everybody, for watching, and we will see you in the next video at some
And
point.
if anybody wants me to clarify more what I mean by my recommendation, please mention it in the comments because I know it might not have come off super clear.
Awesome. Bye, Aaron.
Bye. Thanks so much, Raj.